Hey everyone, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. Now today is Saturday, which means we are diving into our indie comics weekend. And for those new to the channel, every weekend we cover at least one indie comic of either your guys' recommendation or my choosing. And today's issue is Santa Claus. Claus spelt C-L-A-W-S, A Christmas Story. Now this story was written and created by Jeff Haas. Pencils, ink, and lettering are by Joe Wong. And so honestly, I would call this comic an American reimagining of Krampus. And for those that don't know, Krampus is a mystical being or person, however the tale is described to you, that essentially kidnaps children and eats them. And I have to say, all in all, like the artwork in this is relatively good considering it's very simplistic. The shading's done really well. The story and plot are really easy to understand moving into it. And it's a very unique take on greed, on consumerism, and what these things can lead to in our own lives. And while this is obviously exaggerated, it does make one question one's own morality. So without further ado, we're going to dive into this issue. If you have not yet, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and let's dive in. So starting off, we have a man named Jeremy, and he's writing down the truth. The one your parents never tell you. And he knows this truth because he was there. He saw it all. The vengeance that is brought upon these parents. Kidnapped children, forced into slavery. That's what happened to Jeremy. And that's why he's able to tell you this truth. Now, picking back up, obviously some years prior, him and his friend are taking off from school, joking, having a good time. And you can really, in their dialogue, you can tell the consumerism is just really ingrained in a part of their life. When they're talking about the newest big entertainment gaming system that's coming out, and they're, one of them already knows they're getting it. The other one just like, oh man, maybe my mom already got it for me. I'm sure she did because, my mom loves me. And if she loves me, she's going to get me the things I want. So really we're dealing with a bratty kid, really, when it comes down to it at the end of the day. Someone who obviously has always had something and never had to sacrifice anything in his life up to this point. Now, upon arriving home, he sits down and has a discussion with his mother. And he's just letting her know, I really do want the newest gaming system. It would be really awesome if you could get it for me if you already have not got it for me. And this is where she goes into telling him, listen, I work in 2 jobs right now and we can't even make ends meet. We're probably not going to end up having a Christmas this year. And this is where the greed and the consumerism and the brattiness really take its play. Because at this point, he's just like, oh, maybe Santa could get it then. If you can't get it, if you can't get a 3rd job, if you can't do any of this stuff, maybe Santa will do it. And this is where she reveals that Santa Claus isn't real. And instantly, his world crashes down. Unable to fully grasp the seriousness of his mother's poverty and the situation that they're currently in, he says that he has to take a walk. And as he walks down his street, a red limousine pulls up, hauling butt and screeching by. Hitting the brakes upon passing him, he goes up to the vehicle, knocking on the window and seeing and being introduced to Santa Claus. And Santa Claus inside of his vehicle has the newest gaming system, all the cool stuff that this kid wants. And he just hops in, not even a question about it, just all right, well, my mom, Santa Claus is like, your mom probably won't miss you, so just come on. I got games, I got everything, chocolate, whatever you want. Everything a kid is told not to do in this situation, this kid is doing. And he's taken to somewhere where every day is Christmas. And he showed the assembly lines and elves working, trees being decorated. It really does seem like a paradise. But behind the scenes, in some of these panels, we're seeing, reindeer that are walking on 2 legs and keeping these elves in check. We see guardians at the front door with giant swords. And so this is seeming, while amazing, also too good to be true. And very ominous feels to it as you actually stop and take a look around. And this is where Santa Claus brings him into a wishing room where he can wish on a sphere and it will give him and grant him anything that he wants. And so he goes about using this thing, and the point of using it is for Santa Claus to be able to get his soul and make him one of his elves and enslave him. But Jeremy gets to a point where he doesn't want to wish anymore, and it hasn't taken over his soul to the point where Santa Claus has filled him with enough greed to be able to create or turn him into an elf, however that process is done. And this is where he's met with one of the elves, and an elf referring to himself as only elf number 21370. And so we can only assume this elf just has no memory of who he was prior to this, and that he just knows that Santa needs him on the assembly line working. And so as Jeremy goes and investigates all of this, he overhears a conversation between Blitzen and Santa Claus. And the conversation essentially goes that sphere creates so much greed within inside of the children that they become impressionable enough to be able to take their soul, I'm assuming, and be able to turn them into an elf that's enslaved. And as this conversation is going off, Jeremy steps on a board that causes a creak, and all the alarms go off, and he makes his run. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You know, it's obviously definitely getting its roots from Krampus, which is perfectly okay. You know, it's a reimagining of something more and Americanizing it for a different audience. You know, it's something that we've done with art, with media, with everything. So to see it transferred over is really awesome. And it's really feeding off the modern age of consumerism that's literally plagued our nation, and how people have become less grateful for the things they do have, like family and friends and so on and so forth, and more apt to just want possessions, to want material objects. And this really does a great job of pointing that out, in my opinion. I don't know if that was the objective of this comic, but that's really what I took away from it, is how deeply consumerism can take us to a point where, you know, we've made decisions that we regret. And that's all, you know, a lot of what this is him regretting giving into his greed, giving into that consumerism and wanting more. But I don't know, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. How do you feel about this? Are you familiar with Krampus at all? What do you guys think of that story as a whole? What do you guys think about consumerism in America today? Let me know down in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this little Christmas special that I felt like, you know, I needed to do. You know, it's Christmas time, so obviously we're going to do something Christmas related, and I think this is going to be that issue. But yeah, if you guys have not yet, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until the next video.